All right. So much going on in the NFL world right now, even with the Super Bowl right around the corner.
It's true. If it feels like every day there's some breaking news or some new development that has everyone talking.
Yeah. And with all the hype around the big game, Eagles versus Chiefs,
Of course.
it's easy to miss some of the other stories that are unfolding in the league.
Right. And some of those stories are pretty significant.
They really are. And that's what we're diving into today on the deep dive.
We're going to take a look at some of the news and events that might be flying under the radar, but are still shaping the NFL landscape in important ways.
Exactly. So we're going beyond the Super Bowl hype and exploring some of the more personal and behind-the-scenes aspects of the league.
It's a different kind of deep dive, but I think it's an important one.
I agree completely. So let's start with a moment of reflection, shall we?
Sure.
Virginia McCaskey, the longtime owner of the Chicago Bears, passed away recently at the age of 102.
Wow. 102, what a life.
I know. And what a legacy.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about a woman who was literally born into the NFL. Her father was George Halas.
One of the founding fathers of the league.
Exactly. She grew up watching the sport evolve, and she inherited the Bears from her father and held on to that team for decades.
Talk about a family dynasty.
It's incredible. And she wasn't just a figurehead owner either. She was deeply involved in the team, and she was known for her passion and her dedication.
Oh, absolutely. I read this story about her that I just had to share.
Oh, I love a good story. What is it?
Apparently, she refused to serve dessert at family dinners after Bears losses.
Okay, that's amazing. And so on brand, I can just picture those Sunday evenings, everyone on edge hoping for a slice of pie.
Right. But seriously, though, that shows how much she cared about the team.
For sure, it wasn't just a business for her. It was like an extension of her family.
And you see that a lot in the NFL, these teams that are woven into the fabric of a family and a city.
It's true. There's a sense of history and tradition that you just don't find in other sports leagues.
And the Bears have always been a pillar of the NFL. You have to think that family ownership played a big role in that stability.
I think so too. And it's not just about the team itself. She was also a philanthropist, and she established the Bears Care program.
Right, which has made a real difference in the Chicago community.
Exactly. So her legacy extends far beyond the football field.
It really does. She was a remarkable woman, and she'll be missed by the entire NFL community.
Agreed. Now, speaking of the NFL community, let's shift gears a bit and talk about a player who might be at a crossroads in his career.
Okay, sounds good.
Adam Thielen, the Carolina Panthers wide receiver, is 34 years old, and he's hinting at retirement.
Yeah, I saw that he's coming off another solid season, but you can tell he's starting to think about what's next.
Well, he's been in the league for a while, and he's accomplished a lot more than most people expected.
That's for sure. I mean, the guy went undrafted.
Can you believe that?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And yet he's become one of the top undrafted players in NFL history.
Seriously, when you look at his stats, it's incredible how many receptions and receiving yards he has.
It's a testament to his hard work and dedication. He really earned everything he's achieved in this league.
No doubt. And now he's got to decide if he wants to push his body further or walk away on his own terms.
It's a tough decision for any athlete, but especially for someone who's played at such a high level for so long.
I read that he had his entire family at the last game of the season just in case it was his final game.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
You can just feel the emotion in that moment.
Yeah, it makes you realize how much this game means to these guys and how much they sacrifice to play it.
Absolutely. And it also makes you wonder what factors go into a decision like that.
Right. Is it purely physical, or is there a mental and emotional component as well?
I'm sure it's a combination of everything, the wear and tear on your body, the desire to spend more time with family, and maybe even a sense of accomplishment that you've given it your all.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to walk away from something you love, but at some point, you have to prioritize your health and your well-being.
I think that's something a lot of us can relate to, even if we're not professional athletes.
True. We all have to make choices about what's important to us and what we're willing to sacrifice.
Oh, well, let's move on to a story that's a little more about the business side of the NFL.
Okay.
I'm intrigued. The New York Jets, they've made a move that has everyone in the league scratching their heads.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They brought in Rick Spielman, the former Vikings GM, as a senior advisor.
Right, and it's like, where did this come from? He was originally helping them with their search for a new GM and head coach.
And then, bam, he joins the team full time.
It's pretty unusual to see a former GM take on this kind of role.
It is. Especially someone with Spielman's experience. He built a pretty successful Vikings team over the years.
He knows what it takes to win in this league. So what's his role going to be with the Jets?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Is he going to have any real authority, or is he just there to offer advice?
And what does this mean for the Jets' new GM, Darren Moogie?
Moogie actually worked with Spielman back in Denver, but this is his first time running the whole show.
So maybe Spielman is there to be a mentor to guide him through the process.
It's possible. I mean, it's like having a seasoned veteran looking over your shoulder, offering advice and helping you avoid those rookie mistakes.
And Spielman's track record suggests he knows how to build a winning culture, something the Jets desperately need.
They do. They've been a bit of a mess for a while now, so maybe this is the shakeup they needed.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out, but it's definitely an intriguing move.
For sure. It's like they're saying we're not messing around anymore. We're serious about winning.
But we'll see if it translates into actual results on the field.
That's the ultimate test, right?
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. It's been a whirlwind of NFL news.
From the passing of a legend to the potential retirement of a star player to a front office shakeup that has everyone talking.
And we're just getting started.
I know we've got so much more to dive into, but we're going to have to take a quick break.
Sounds
Make sure to come back for the next part of the deep dive, where we'll continue our exploration of the NFL beyond the headlines.
It's going to be fascinating. Stay tuned.
And
it'll be interesting to see how Spielman's presence, impacts the Jets.
right, like you were saying, is he actually going to be like involved?
Yeah, I mean, he's not just going to be giving advice. He's going to be actually, hands-on, working in rebuilding the football operations side of things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I even heard on his podcast that he's making a lot of changes to the Jets front office.
Interesting. So senior advisor, that can mean a lot of things,
Exactly.
but it sounds like they're actually giving him some like real authority to, make some moves.
Yeah, I mean, you don't bring in a guy with his resume just to sit around and drink coffee, right?
Right. He knows like the ins and outs of an NFL team.
Exactly.
Everything from scouting players to negotiating contracts
Yeah.
to, planning for the draft.
It's invaluable, that kind of knowledge.
And he's working directly with like a brand new GM in Darren Moogie.
Right. Moogie worked with Spielman in Denver, but this is his first time running the show.
Right. So maybe Spielman's there to kind of be like a mentor
Exactly.
to guide him through the process.
It's like having a seasoned guide leading you through a jungle, right?
Yeah.
Spielman has navigated the NFL for years. He can help Moogie avoid all those pitfalls that can trip up a first-time GM.
And it's not just about avoiding mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It's about like seizing opportunities.
Exactly.
Like Spielman's expertise in like evaluating talent.
Especially now with free agency and the draft coming up.
That could be huge for the Jets.
Absolutely. This is the guy who built the Vikings roster that went to the NFC Championship a few years back.
Right.
The Jets are hoping he can sprinkle some of that magic on their team.
So, okay, we've talked about the legendary owners passing a player, contemplating his future, and this front office shakeup with the Jets.
It's a lot to process.
It is. What's like the common thread here? What does it all say about the state of the NFL right now?
I think there's a theme of transitions happening right now.
Oh, interesting. It's like we're witnessing a shift, a change in the guard, so to speak.
Mm.
You have Virginia McCaskey's passing, representing the end of an era for the Bears.
Right.
And then there's Adam Thielen potentially retiring, symbolizing the changing of the guard among players.
Okay.
And with the Jets bringing in Spielman, it feels like another example of teams searching for new leadership, a new way of doing things.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. There is like this feeling of both excitement and nostalgia in the air.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Like the league is holding on to its traditions while also embracing change.
Which is what makes the NFL so great.
Right. It's true. It's always evolving, but it also stays true to its roots.
The competition, the strategy, the teamwork, those elements never go out of style.
Yep. And speaking of traditions, I think it's important to highlight the role of family in all of this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We saw it with the McCaskey's and the Bears, but it's a much bigger story than that.
There are so many family legacies in the NFL.
It's true, and it's not just about bloodlines.
It's like you see it in the bonds between teammates, the camaraderie in the locker room, the friendships that last a lifetime.
Right, that feeling of belonging, of being a part of something bigger than yourself.
It's what makes the NFL so special.
Absolutely. And speaking of belonging, we've got an amazing community here at the Deep Dive.
We do. If you're enjoying our exploration of these NFL stories, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
We love having you along for the ride.
We do. And trust me, you won't want to miss the final part of our deep dive where we'll wrap things up and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder.
All right, so let's bring it back to this idea of change. The NFL is in a constant state of flux, and we're seeing it play out in front offices across the league.
Teams are looking for any advantage they can get.
For sure.
What's driving this trend? Is it just about winning at all costs, or is there something more to it?
I think a big part of it is the increasing pressure to succeed. The The stakes are higher than ever, with massive TV contracts and fan expectations skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Teams are under a microscope.
Right.
And they feel the need to make bold moves to stay ahead of the curve.
So is this a good thing for the league?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean, is all this change and upheaval creating a more competitive environment?
Or is it leading to more instability and short-term thinking?
It's hard to say. There are definitely arguments to be made on both sides.
Right.
On one hand, you could say that this constant churn keeps things fresh and exciting.
Yeah.
It forces teams to be innovative and adapt to new challenges.
But on the other hand,
It can also create a culture of impatience where coaches and GMs are constantly on the hot seat.
It's like this high-stakes game of chess.
It is.
Where everyone's trying to outmaneuver each other, but sometimes the pieces get sacrificed too quickly.
Exactly, and that's where the human element comes back into play.
Right.
We're talking about people's careers, their livelihoods, their dreams.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that amidst all the talk of wins and losses and salary caps.
It's a good reminder that the NFL, despite all its glamour and spectacle, is still a human drama at its core. And that's what makes it so compelling.
Speaking of compelling, we've only got a few minutes left in this deep dive.
Okay, should we try to tie it all together?
Yeah, let's shift our focus back to the stories we started with.
Okay, so we've got Virginia McCaskey, a woman who embodied the tradition and history of the NFL, passing the torch to a new generation.
Right.
We have Adam Thielen, a player who represents the hard work and dedication required to succeed in the league, contemplating the next chapter in his life.
Right.
And we have Rick Spielman, a seasoned veteran stepping into a new role with the Jets, hoping to bring his winning formula to a franchise that's desperate for success.
3 very different stories, yet they all speak to the same underlying themes of change, legacy, and the enduring power of the NFL.
Yeah. It's like we've taken a snapshot of the league at a pivotal moment in its history.
A moment where the past is colliding with the present.
Yeah, and the future is still being written.
And that's what makes it so fascinating to follow.
Right. You never know what's going to happen next.
But you can be sure that it will be a story worth telling.
We'll be here to dive into those stories and unpack their deeper meaning, but for now we're going to have to leave you hanging.
Make sure to come back for the final part of our deep dive where we'll wrap things up and offer some final thoughts on what it all means. All right, so welcome back to the deep dive.
I feel like we've covered so much ground already, you know.
We have.
We've talked about, the passing of a true NFL icon to the personal journeys of players and even, the high-stakes world of front office decisions.
Yeah, it's amazing how all these seemingly, separate stories, they all connect to paint this broader picture of where the NFL is right now.
And I think, for me, one of the biggest takeaways is that the NFL is just in this constant state of evolution, like it never stands still.
You're absolutely right. And that's what makes it so captivating, right? There's this
Yeah.
push and pull between, tradition and innovation, between the old guard and the new. It's kind of like a microcosm of society in a lot of ways.
It really is. And it makes you think about, what are the last of legacies that will be left behind, like with Virginia McCaskey.
Right.
It's not just about how many Super Bowls the Bears won, during her tenure. It's about her impact on the organization, her commitment to the community, and the way she represented the values of the NFL.
Yeah, it's about the stories, the moments, the people that kind of shape the narrative of the league. And that's why Adam Thielen's story resonates so strongly.
Right.
Here's a guy who achieved the NFL dream despite being undrafted. It speaks to the hard work, the resilience, the dedication that it takes to make it in this league.
And his retirement decision, whenever he makes it, it'll highlight another side of the NFL,
What's that?
the sacrifices, the toll it takes on your body and your mind, and the tough choices players have to make about their future.
It's a reminder that, for all the glitz and glamour, the NFL is still a business, and it's a demanding one at that. It takes a special kind of person to thrive in that environment.
And then you have the New York Jets, bringing in Rick Spielman, hoping he can weave some of his front office magic.
Yeah.
It's like a classic NFL storyline, the search for the quick fix, the pressure to win now.
But it also speaks to the value of experience, the importance of having a steady hand at the helm, and in a league where everyone is looking for an edge, that kind of wisdom can be priceless.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought.
Okay.
What other behind-the-scenes stories are shaping the NFL's future?
That's a great question.
Because there are always moves being made, decisions being deliberated, players whose journeys are unfolding beyond the headlines.
I encourage everyone to kind of look beyond the box scores and the highlight reels to dig a little deeper and discover those hidden narratives that make this league so fascinating.
And if you're as passionate about the NFL as we are and you love these insightful conversations, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives like this one.
Absolutely. We appreciate you joining us on this journey of exploration, and we hope you'll keep diving deep with us.
Until next time.